Joining me now, my great friend Kellyanne Conway, former counselor to President Trump, Fox News contributor, and author of the excellent book, Here's the Deal. Kellyanne, welcome back. You know, there's a million reasons why there should not be an omnibus bill. And the first question I just want to ask you, how is it that the Senate Republican leadership, and I don't want to make this personal, okay, they're friends of ours, but the reality is they'd rather have a year-long omnibus bill that would lock in overspending, overtaxing, war against fossil fuels, no fight at the border on immigration. How can they possibly do that?
Well, they shouldn't do it. Plus, I'll add one more thing. They watch your show. So they're listening to you right now, Larry. Hello. They're dying to be sitting in this chair. But Larry, really, they shouldn't do that. Yeah. And you had Leader McCarthy on before, and let me just also add some policy reasons why he should be Speaker, because it goes to the spending also. This is a guy who, you know, he led the charge to bring back, to revive the CRAs during the Trump administration where you and I served. That led to a record number 16 times and $4.1 billion in regulatory reductions. And we came within one vote in the Senate, you'll recall, to a great rescissions package. So here's somebody who should be the Speaker, the next Speaker of the House, who is pretty darn good on spending. He also kept to the number 13, the number of Republican House members who voted for the infrastructure bill. They had a ton of people voting for that over in the Senate, to your point. He kept it to 13, mostly folks from the Northeast who benefited in their congressional districts. So I think we have to look at the mandate the public has given to the Republicans. They trust them to be the fiscally responsible party, to not give up on the border, to not give up on fossil fuels, to not give up on regulations and taxation and all the things that make us distinct and different from the Democratic Party. So I think that I've heard their arguments. I just don't think that they're good enough, and I don't think they're good enough to a public who has had enough of one-party control by the Democrats in Washington, D.C., who's looking for checks and balances and a party that's going to hold the line and stand their ground when it comes to this runaway spending. You know, it's Mitch McConnell, whom we both know, has a conservative record down through the years, okay? Particularly, we would never have the Supreme Court judges, and absolutely.
That's right. And he's done other things, too.
Yes, of course.
Richard Shelby, who's now the leading earmarker, has a conservative record down through the years as a Democrat and then as a Republican. They're both blowing their conservative records and bona fides by insisting on some crazy omnibus spending bill. And it's so funny. It affects every part of our life. It affects the immigration. You're 2 days to go and Title 42 is gone. You could double the amount of illegals coming in. It affects spending. Kevin Hassett just said it will cause more inflation and make the Fed's job tougher. I mean, huh? Really? Why? Jay Powell has a pretty tough job, as we say. He does. And he's handling it well. Larry, there's this unusual and unhelpful trend in Washington, D.C. that as you're walking out the door, which usually comes decades and decades and decades after you first walk in the door of the United States Senate, people like Pat Leahy and Richard Shelby, two distinguished gentlemen who I had good relationships with when I worked in Washington with them, they are out in, 15 or 16 days? And they're leading the charge here. You know, there's a wonderful United States Senator-elect in Katie Britt, who was chief of staff to Richard Shelby, who's going to take his Senate seat. So we might just wait for folks like that, the new generation, to come in. Right, there you go. Okay, moving right along. Our former boss wasn't exactly as timely as we might have hoped, but, you know, I'm reading a Breitbart article. Exclusive, Trump denounces Fuentes. This is guy I had dinner with, unknowingly, unwittingly, at a Jewish meeting in Miami. Yes. He teed off on him. He said, nobody that embraces anti-Semitism has a place in America First movement or in the GOP. He was very clear about that. Would that he had done it a couple weeks earlier, but he did it, and he did it comprehensively. What you thinking here? Well, great. And you and I talked about it last time I was here. Perhaps he saw you that day, too. But he had told me the same thing privately one time when he called me. And I said, you want to tell other people that. You didn't know who this person is. I didn't know who the person was either, but it takes about 10 seconds to figure it out if you just type in his name. I like the fact that President Trump broadened it, Larry. It wasn't just, I shouldn't have had dinner with him and everybody's picking on me. It was no place in the America First movement in the GOP. That's important because it ought to send not just a symbol and a signal,
but a very unequivocal message to many people to stay away from a party that stands for pro-growth and parents' rights and lower taxes and fewer regulations and energy independence and Putin out of Ukraine. And we're trying to push back against rising costs and rising crime. The whole agenda that really was there in these elections, and even though we didn't win every single place that people expected or wanted to, I'm pretty proud of the messaging in terms of we responded to the call of the public. The public said, this is what's important to me. Democrats went out there just pointing their fingers, scolding and trying to shame everybody into democracies on the ballot. But I'm glad President Trump did that. I'm also glad that he addressed another Jewish group. It was important for him to do that, for him to take the heat, take those questions. I don't think anybody can question President Trump and Vice President Pence's positions and record on Israel.
There's not an anti-Semitic bone in his
not at all.
body. Never has.
Seven presidents promised to move that embassy to Jerusalem. One kept that promise.
And one other one here. Look, he also unveiled a multi-step agenda to protect speech, tackle big tech, stop the censoring of conservatives. Now, this is very good, including changing Section 230 of the old FCC Decency Act. Very good. But it kind of got drowned out by baseball cards or whatever those things were for $99. Like, he sort of stepped on his line. This is a good story. I'm looking at the Newsmax version. It ran on Breitbart and a bunch of other places, but it wasn't covered properly. And he's exactly right, but he kind of stepped on his own line there. This
is the President Trump that we worked for in terms of here is a specific solution-centric way to tackle something that is vexing, perplexing so many Americans. You know, Larry, they already know that they are ridiculed, castigated, denigrated in their communities, in their places of work, their places of worship. They're made fun of by lots of folks for their political views. But now President Trump is trying to get at this matter that, come to find out, we're being censored, shadow banned. You have the FBI and Twitter executives talking to each other. We finally found collusion. Unfortunately, it's government agency, the FBI, with these tech overlords, and it's very dangerous. So I like the fact that President Trump also said, as president, I will do the following. He's transporting people into his second term and saying, this will be a priority to me, so you're treated fairly. This is a guy who elevated forgotten man, forgotten woman, forgotten child. And now they're forgotten in a different way. They feel that life is unfair. They feel that the economic upward mobility that they experienced is gone. They feel like the jobs that are meaningful to them are disappearing. They feel like they're being censored by people they never meet, who are half their age and twice their arrogance. So this is big Trump. And when he comes out with things like this, but I confess to you, I didn't see it until I was told it was coming. I was coming on your show, and this would be one of the topics. So
this is big Trump.
People should look at it.
This is good
People
Trump.
should look at that.
This is super
It's very specific.
I mean, when he talks policy, substance, and future agenda, there's really nobody better. There may be some as good. We'll wait and see how that plays out. I'm not picking winners and losers, but when he talks like this, it's the best thing in the world.
We're not picking winners and losers, but the plan is a winner. You know, maybe tweak it here and there.
No,
but
it's
substantively,
barring government collusion with big tech.
Yes.
No more federal money from labeling speech disinformation, firing federal bureaucrats who participate. This is your FBI business with this so-called tech overlords, and either getting rid of or changing Section 230, which is what protected the social media people in the first place.
In the first place, we tried to do away with that. And Larry, last point, the president also ties this into your vote. One person, one vote enshrined in the Constitution. He ties it into that too. We all have to feel like that's protected and sacrosanct. Thank you.
When are you going to throw your hat in the ring?
What ring am I?
Come on, Kelly.
Am I boxing someone? I'd like to pick that opponent.
I want to endorse Kellyanne Conway. It's the best of the best.